Pamela Harris.
15 seconds.
I would like to call to order the regular city council meeting of Monday, January the 10th, 2022. I would like to welcome all our citizens that are present here tonight, as well as those that are listening or watching via the media streaming. So at this time, I'm going to ask everyone to please stand for our invocation by Pastor Scott Holmesley of St. John's Lutheran Church, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we come before you this night, and we give you thanks. We thank you that you have given us this opportunity to live in Cherryville and to live in this community and to live in North Carolina and to live in this world. You've created this world for us, and you've given it to us to be a part of, and we pray that you would help us to be good stewards of the many, many blessings you've bestowed on all of us. And tonight, as these elected and appointed leaders meet with this community, we pray, Lord, that you would be with them, that you would allow your Holy Spirit to guide them and to be with all of us. And we pray, Lord, that you would help us to lead with justice and with peace, and that you would be with us always. But most importantly, we pray that you would assure each of us that you are our Savior. You are with us now and always will be, and we can place all our trust and our hope in you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. The first item we need to address will be item 4 in your agenda packets on your tablets, and that would be to the approval of the agenda as presented. Do I have an entertain a motion from council on agenda approval?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, and there is none. Item 5 is approval of the minutes of our city council regular meeting of December the 13th, 2021. Do I entertain a motion from council on approval of the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of our regular city council meeting of December 13th, 2021.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented of the city council regular meeting of December 13th, 2021. All in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, and there is none. Next item is mayor's comments, and my comments tonight will be fairly brief because of the extensive agenda that we will be dealing with tonight. At the December meeting of the Gaston-Lincoln-Cleveland Metropolitan Planning Organization, I was honored to be elected unanimously as vice chairman of this organization for the next 2 years. This organization makes recommendations concerning all forms of transportation for the 3 counties of Gaston, Lincoln, and Cleveland. Members of this board are county commissioners, mayors, and council members of all cities and municipalities of these counties, as well as administrative staff members of the board. Cherryville Mayor Pro Tem Jill Pewitt serves as an alternate on this board also. I am honored that this is the first time that a member of our city has been chosen for this office. Our next meeting for this board will be on January the 27th. City Manager Dalton and I have met several times to discuss city-related concerns and the city's budget for the coming year. We also met this past Thursday with our audit committee to discuss items pertaining to the past year's audit. I would like to announce that 2 vehicles were sold that had been placed on Gov Deals. Payments for the vehicles were received prior to releasing them to the buyers. City Manager Dalton and I had a 3-way conversation with Mr. T.C. Holmesley in regards to the disposition of the land donated by the Holmesley family at the corner of Main Street and Mulberry Street, and this will be addressed by the city at a later date. This coming Wednesday afternoon, I will be attending the Cherryville Historical Museum meeting along with City Manager Dalton and Museum Liaison Councilmember Malcolm Parker. This concludes the mayor's comments. And at this time, I would ask that our former city manager / fire chief, Jeff Cash, please come forward, and any members of his family. Mr. Cash, please send this something. This is presented to Jeffrey C. Cash in recognition of dedicated service to the city of Cherryville and its citizens while serving as city manager / fire chief from 2018 through 2021, presented on this date of January the 10th, 2022. Congratulations. You have the floor for
I appreciate it. It was my honor and privilege to serve the city, the citizens, the businesses, and especially the city employees. And if I can ever do anything, just let me know. I love this community. I will continue to pray daily for each of you and management and staff. And again, God bless the city of Cherryville.
Cynthia, would you like for us, have you got your phone, would you like for us to make a picture of the presentation? Ma'am?
I just realized that our
Media's not here today.
tonight. Come on up here. Come on up here. We gotta have somebody to offset these 2 mugs here.
Get in there to help it. Okay, big smiles, feel behind it. You'll
Thanks
fall.
again. The next item on our agenda is citizens to be heard, and any citizen that would like to speak may do so by coming to the podium and stating your name and address before you speak. Comments will be strictly held to 5 minutes per person. And let me say this, that any citizen that would like to speak now does not have anything to do with the public hearing that will be in our agenda later on. So these comments will not be concerning the Strap Acres. Excuse me, so at this time, do we have any citizen that would like to be heard?
About the house strap thing, is that what you're talking about? Speak later? I can't do it now?
That'll be later.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Pete. So, if there's no citizen that would like to be heard at this time, we'll go on to the next item on our agenda. Item 9 is the presentation of our audit for the year ending June the 30th, 2021. We have our auditors here, Mr. Robert Adams, and who is a managing partner of Butler and Stowe, and also Sheila Thornton, is that right? It's also here, but we'll give you the floor at this time. And for the council members, I think you have copies here of the audit as well as a handout from Butler and Stowe.
So I was glad to hear I'm limited to 5 minutes. If that's all right. It's about what I think it's about what I'm ready for. Just one quick correction, and I think it's on your, the summary sheet that I prepared for tonight. I am a partner with Butler and Stowe. My name's Robert Adams, but Ms. Thornton is actually the managing partner of the firm, and just wanted to give her that credit since I do work for her. So thought it'd be good to get that in while I was here. I'd like to thank the council for this opportunity to present the audit for the year ended June 30, 2021, Mayor, which was last year. We'll talk about next year some other time. We did, Sheila and I did meet with the audit committee last Thursday, and we went over with that committee the highlights of the audit. We went through the financial statements, the audit report. You have a copy of a summary sheet that I'm going to go over quickly for you tonight. You also have a copy of the audit report. I prepared the summary because the audit report itself is 76 pages, and I could not do that in 5 minutes. And I didn't think you wanted to sit here and flip through that audit report while I tried to guide you through it. So I just prepared this summary for you. Any citizen that would like to have a copy, I'm sure it's going to be available through the minutes of this meeting. I would take a quick moment to thank the audit committee, Chairman Abernathy, the mayor, the staff members that were present, Mr. Dalton, Dixie Wall, who's the financial officer, and the volunteers that were there, Scott Harrell and Ms. Harris. Appreciate all those people's time last week. The audit report contains our opinion on the financial statements of the City of Cherryville for the year ended June 30, 2021. Our opinion was a clean opinion, which means to the city and to the council, it means the city has met the audit requirements required by the general statutes of North Carolina. It also means that the financial statements fairly represent the financial status of the town, or the city at June 30, 2021. The highlights of the report, the first one I listed there was the combined assets of the city, which would include the general fund and the two enterprise funds, exceeded the liabilities of the city by $20,361,000. During the year, the city received the funding for the voter-approved bonds and recorded the receipt of $3,553,000 in the general fund and $5,944,000 in the water and sewer fund. The unassigned fund balance of the city at June 30, 2021 was $1,080,621. This represents funds that are available to the council for their use without restriction. This is an increase of $298,000 over the prior year. So that is a nice increase of unassigned fund balance for the year. The two enterprise funds, which comprise the electric and the water and sewer fund, had a combined income of $524,000 for the year ended last year. At our meeting with the audit committee, we discussed several things. One, we discussed the challenges for the city council in the coming fiscal year, which include the budgeting and cash flowing, the debt service for the bonds. In addition, the funds provided by the bonds and the funds received under the federal stimulus programs, the CARES Act and the American Rescue Plan will create additional audit requirements for the council to consider in the coming years. Getting back to your earlier comment, we'll discuss that next year, but there will be some single audit, probably repercussions upon receiving those funds. We did also discuss with Brian and Ms. Wall, the final notice came out last week on the ARP fund, the American Rescue Funds, and the restrictions on the use of those funds were altered from the initial notice to the final notice. So the final notice was very liberal, more lenient to let the council decide on how to spend those funds. So that should help you in the coming year as you face some of those challenges on where to put that money. The improvements to the city's infrastructure and other funding opportunities made possible by the CARES Act and the American Rescue Plan will provide the city and the city council with opportunities to improve the city and enhance the lives of your citizens in the coming year. So that's, I know I didn't go into a lot of detail on the statements, but that's the highlights for this year's audit. We appreciate the opportunity to provide our audit services to you. I'd like to thank Dixie Wall. She was a big part of the audit process this year. She did a great job. I'd like to thank her for that. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have at this time.
The one comment that I would like to make, and I know it's not in here as far as percentage-wise, but our fund balance was, am I correct, it was 21.8% fund balance?
I think what you're referring to is the unassigned fund balance. The LGC, the Local Government Commission, kind of looks at those numbers, and one number they look at is how much of that what that unassigned fund balance represents as far as your expenditures for the total for the year. And I think it was your unassigned fund balance is about 21% of your annual operating expenditures, which is a really high number.
Yeah, I know
So that means you've
the
got,
year before I came on as mayor, our fund balance was rounded off to 0.5%.
yeah, there's,
So we've come a long way in 8 years
yeah, there's
to a
been some past years
21.8. So,
where that number's been quite low.
mhm.
But I think you've had some very successful years in the meantime, where you've built the fund balance, which allows the council to use more discretion in their budgeting process. If you've got funds available that are unassigned, not restricted by state statute or state regulation, that does give you a freer hand in your budgeting process.
What that
That's
means
a
to me,
good
Mayor, is
point.
we could have cut that electric rate even more.
Oh,
We
okay.
will not go into that.
Well, on behalf of the council, I do want to thank, Robert, I want to thank you for the great work you did on our audit.
Okay.
Many, many days I would come up there and I would see you working in the conference room. And then when I would leave for lunch, you were still in there working. And when I came back, you were still working. So I know you put a lot of long hours in there. And I especially want to recognize Dixie Wall too for the great job she's done with our finances and controlling our spending. And thank you so much for
welcome.
being here. And it's open to our citizens. If any citizen has any question about the audit, now's the time to bring it up. But I think overall, we're very proud of what we've done over the past year.
I think you
Does
should-
any council member have any comments?
I think it's wonderful. Staff's done a great job.
I think so.
Okay.
And, next year, if you pass by them in there, you can stop and, wow.
Okay. Thank you for being here. Okay. The next item is, on our agenda is item 10, is consideration of budget amendments. That's on pages 11 and 12 on your tablets. Let me get there. And And our finance director, Dixie Wall, will go over those for us. I think everybody's got them up now, okay?
Mayor, council, I have two budget amendments. One is just, since the audit's complete, I do the carryovers for the donations and the grants, and I've budgeted some insurance reimbursements that we've got in this year also. That's basically, one of them. The other is budgeting the state capital and infrastructure fund directed grant from the state, which, is budgeting $422,800 from the state. So both those budget amendments, the first one is just to clean up and get ready, carry over the donations and things from the past year, since the audit is complete. Is there any questions?
It's more or less just some bookkeeping that we had to do to
Correct.
get ready for the new year. And that increase was $422,800. Is that correct?
That's the state-funded grant.
Okay. Does any council member have any questions for finance director in regards to the budget amendments? Okay, so I would entertain a motion from council on accepting the budget amendments as presented.
Make a motion to accept the budget amendment.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to accept the budget amendments as presented by Finance Director Dixie Wall. No other discussion. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There is none. It's unanimous. Thank you,
Thank you,
Dixie.
Mayor.
All right, the next item on our agenda is consideration of appointments to the Architectural Review Board, and we have our Main Street Chair, Donna Behringer here, and David Day.
Donna's out of town.
Okay. All right, so David, you have the floor. That's page 13 in your agenda packets.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mhm.
The Main Street Architectural Review Board requires that the Main Street chairperson make a recommendation to the city council for the new members and the extending members. And this year, the nominees for reelection and a new member is Doug Blackburn, will begin his second term. Vicki Sperling, her second term. Beth Thornburg, her second term. And a new elected person would be Scott Beam. This would be his first term. Continuing and not up for election is Stan Baumgartner and Tim Miles. And Donna recommends these individuals for the ARB committee because they meet the qualifications and have also been there before. And also that Donna recommends that Vicki Sperling, and we've spoke with Vicki, would continue as our chairperson for the Architectural Review Board.
Okay. I think you've been in there 3 years, Vicki.
There was I couldn't find any specific records of what year everybody began.
Mhm.
And so we just started keeping up with them when I started keeping the minutes and looking through them.
Okay. Do I have entertain a motion from council to, for the appointments to the Architectural Review Board as presented?
Make a motion, we accept those appointments as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to accept the appointments as presented by David Day, who is our Main Street chairperson at this time. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, there is none. Thank you, David.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate that. Okay. Item number 12 is update on Piedmont Lithium. And I had received an email. Is the representative here from Piedmont Lithium? Okay. I think this is just an update, correct? Doesn't require closed session or anything?
Just a quick update, yeah, just to give you
Okay,
guys a
all right,
quick
thank
rundown.
you.
All right, thank you again for your time this evening. Appreciate getting the opportunity to come here and update you on kind of where we are. It's a new year for us in 2022. First and foremost, one of the key things for us this year is, again, our community engagement and some of the work we're doing with the community. Melissa Gordon's here as well from Piedmont Lithium, and a lot of the work we're doing there with the community, with the schools here in Cherryville and other activities. We plan to continue that into 2022. And we're actually open. I'm kind of asking for any additional ideas that the city of Cherryville would have for us to continue to contribute to the community and provide some support. So we're going to do a lot of the things that we did last year, which are continued ongoing, donations and activities. But if there's any other new opportunities, like the new one this past year was with the school foundation, if there's something like that that would be, impactful, we want to obviously participate in there. But we're looking to really up our efforts in engaging in the community and being active out here in Cherryville and really around Gaston County. So appreciate any ideas that anybody may have for us to help support the community. Second, we actually are tomorrow night at the Gaston County Commissioners meeting. We're going to roll out, not us personally, but a consultant that's been hired to do an economic impact study for the project out here has been hired, John Connaughton. He's going to be presenting to the Board of Commission tomorrow night the kind of results of the study that really focus on not only just the job impact that we've already kind of announced how many jobs, but really the economic activity that kind of is generated with our operation, as well as how that impacts surrounding operation, whether it's a grocery store or a restaurant or other jobs that our project plan to bring to Gaston County. So if you get a chance to dial into the session or go to the session, really highly encourage it, because it's gonna show some phenomenal results on really the economic activity that this project can bring to Gaston County. And we expect that to kind of propagate around other counties as well as we start to really have influence here and have a large operation. So that's something to keep in mind, and I know we'll make sure that study is available for everybody online as well. One other quick thing, we're trying to be again more active around what we're showing with the community. There's always questions about water or mining activities or different things like that. So we're putting things out on our website, and when people call us and ask us, we're trying to direct them to like some of the studies and the work that we've done. So call it our FAQs. And we're actually publishing certain things out there in the public as well about some of the studies that we've done to kind of address some of the questions. We know what the main questions are from the community, and we want to make sure that we're open and transparent to try to address each of those questions that people have. And again, we welcome other questions. If people want to get into more detail about some of those things, we're more than happy to do that. But that's something that's going to be much more active this year on our website, to just really engage the community and provide answers to some of the questions that people may have. Two quick things which are pretty important. One, the permitting process. So everybody's aware we've submitted our state mining permit back in August. We had our public hearing in November, where we had a lot of good comments from the public on the permit itself. We've actually been working with Demler, who's reviewing the permit. We've been working with them over the last couple months since the public meeting, actually over the last 2 months. And we've answered a number of questions they've had. So we see that process continuing here over the next couple months. And it's an interactive process where they come with questions on a kind of a monthly basis. They'll ask us a question about every 30 days. And at some point, we hope those questions will be all answered. But we've done a pretty good job, I think, as a team, really addressing a lot of the main questions that they have. A lot of it's just around really further elaboration of maps and different things like that, some of the other studies that we've done. So we just wanted to give you an update that we're continuing to work with Demler on the state mining permit, and everything looks really, really, really promising there from our perspective. So we're excited about that. And then lastly, I think the last time I had talked to the city of Cherryville, we obviously are having a lot of meetings with Gaston County in general around utilities. And I know that's a pretty interesting topic for the group out here. We have had a meeting with them, with Donnie Hicks and a number of the other people representing the utilities, whether it's wastewater, fresh water, electricity, things like that. So a lot of electricity providers as well. We're continuing those discussions and those meetings, and as we have more information and get information around studies that we're doing on the type of wastewater or the type of fresh water that we may need for our facility, we'll continue to engage Cherryville and bring everybody into the discussion when we get to those points. But that's progressing. Hopefully after the holidays now we can kind of ramp things up a little bit. It slowed down a little bit because of the holidays, but we're hopeful in the next month or so that starts to really ramp back up, and we're working with all the right providers there to provide you all updates, and as well as keep you engaged in that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the update.
Yeah.
We appreciate you keeping us on board with the latest developments. We certainly do want to be one of the players when it gets to furniture. If and when it happens, as far as furnishing water
Right.
and sewer and maybe even electricity. I'm not so sure about the electricity, whether we can have a hand in that, but we do want you to keep an open mind
Absolutely.
that we're closer than Gaston County and we're cheaper than Gaston County.
Absolutely. No, we know that, and we'll definitely have, you'll be in every conversation we have with any utility provider, whether it's electricity, water, whatever it may be. Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Great.
Does any council members have any questions regarding Piedmont Lithium?
What's the possibility of us annexing your facility?
That's a good question. It's something that we haven't kind of gone into a lot of detail. I'd have to kind of get our legal guys involved and have them try to address that question. But it's something I haven't really had a lot of discussion with our lawyers on that. But that's something we can definitely talk about. Yeah.
I think we threw that idea out one time too about, because you would get the fire protection
Right.
free
Right.
once, if you were annexed.
And I think there's advantages of doing that, right? Because, and that's, all those things, as the operation develops, right, we're gonna need all that support, right, from the community. We wanna make sure, that we also do the required training and whatever that may, for whether it's EMT, fire services, whatever it may be, right? We're obviously pretty active out here with our properties and stuff with the fire departments and the police departments as well, making sure they're able to use our properties for training and things like that. But we definitely think there could be some opportunities out there for that, so I'll follow up with you on that.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Okay, thank you.
Great.
We
Thank
do
you very much.
appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm. We'll move on in the agenda, and the next item was update on city purchasing cards, better known as the P cards, and our city manager, Brian Dalton.
Council, Mayor, as you know, several months back, y'all passed a policy giving department heads and some supervisors P cards. Currently, most department heads and supervisors have taken advantage of that. There's still some that have not actually even got the P cards yet. They're still sitting at City Hall. But this is gonna be a way to streamline it, and we're gonna be able to know exactly wherever card is used, when it's used, and who it's used by. So we're just trying to work out some kinks, but I believe we're on the right path now with the P cards being used, and it's gonna be a streamlined process to make it easier for us up front and for the city as a whole.
Okay. Any council member have any questions for our city manager regarding the P cards?
And I guess the biggest thing is this will eliminate employees coming to City Hall and taking
And
a
signing
city credit
out
card
for
and
the
signing
card.
out, and then us not being able to know exactly who might have had that card at what time.
Okay.
Okay.
But it's streamlined now all through our computers, so
Correct.
that Dixie, it'll pop up when somebody's using that card and where it's being used.
Correct.
Okay.
Would it be possible to get a report showing the difference in spending before department heads got those cards and then after?
I'm sure we can do that.
And Malcolm and I voted against it when it came up, and I'd really like to see how the purchasing may have increased when it became easier to purchase the
I'm
cards.
sure we can do that.
Okay.
What month exactly did you pass the policy, do you know? Been a year?
It's been a year, yeah. And, of course, all that, if they use the P card, it still has to be within the budget.
Correct.
So,
still comes out of
once
our
we
budget.
vote on the budget, it sort of limits what that P card can be used for.
All right, we can
Okay.
do that, Mr. Green.
Okay,
All
thank you.
right. Next item is consideration to set a date for public hearing, and this is in reference to a special use permit for a GIS particle number 129707 located at 126 West Main Street. And for those that doesn't know exactly where that is, that was considered the old post office years ago. It's right there at the overhead bridge. It's the last building on Main Street on the right-hand side of the road if you're going west. So we have our planning and zoning director, Derek Mackey, and this starts on page 14 in your agenda packet and goes through page 25. So, Derek, you have the floor.
Yes, Cherryville Main Street LLC, which is Vicky Sperling. They came and applied for a special use permit It's Zone B1, which does allow residential, but it doesn't have any commercial attached to it. And because it doesn't have any commercial attached to it, they won't use the whole building for residential apartments. It has to come before city council for special use permit.
Okay, so in other words, they're converting all of the interior of the building will all be apartments, no commercial, no businesses on the bottom floor like they've done with the Belk Building and Butter Me Up.
Yep.
So this will be nothing but residential, and that's what we would need to set a date for a public hearing. Okay, does any council member have any questions? So I guess we would set this for February, that we would set this date for February, our next council meeting.
February 14th.
That'll be the 14th. Right, okay. Do we need to, Palmer, do we need to vote on that? To set that public hearings from council? Okay, so I would entertain a motion from council to set public hearing date of February the 14th, 2022 for the, it's called special use permit instead of conditional now. Special use permit for 126 West Main Street.
Make a motion that we set February 14th for the special use permit.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to set February the 14th, 2022 as the date for the public hearing in regards to parcel 129-707, 126 West Main Street. Any other discussion by council? If not, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There is none. Okay, and while you're up there, Derek, we're going to now, our next item is continuing the public hearing in reference to 1404 Shelby Highway, which are GS parcels 160, 116, 117, 120, 216819, and 305089, which is rezoning from R40 to CUR9 and CURMF and B2. Planning and Zoning Director Derek Mackey will walk us through this. This is quite lengthy. We're going to start on page 26.
Well, we got a vote to go into that, so I'll make a
Yeah.
motion that we do, at this time, go into a session where we can discuss it.
Okay. We got a motion to go into public hearing, a continued public hearing at this time. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, there is none. We are now considered,
Second.
we got a second, just wasn't loud enough. Okay, so we have the motion and the second, it passed unanimous to go into a public hearing in regards to the permits. Okay, so we are now considered in public hearing. And at this time, Derek, if you want to start with the findings we have, or the staff report on Strap Acres.
Yeah, just a little bit of the background. October 18th, 2021, the Cherryville Planning Board held a public hearing review of the proposed development. At that meeting, they took no action. They felt they didn't have enough information to make a decision, and therefore it was sent to the city council. Montrose LLC and Michael Foss and Well Springs, they brought forth they're the applicants for bringing forth this rezoning. November the 8th, the Cherryville City Council voted to continue the public hearing, and the developer made some modifications to the plans. December the 14th, the Cherryville City Council voted to continue the public hearing to take consideration recent changes to the development proposal. Rezoning was re-advertised for public hearing for January 20th.
January 10th,
10th,
tonight.
yeah,
20.
January 10th, I'm sorry. The purpose of the hearing today is consider rezoning the subject properties per the application provided to the city of Cherryville. The city council is asking to approve, disapprove, modify the rezoning to CU R9 cluster, CU RMF, and BT, and to continue the hearing.
Or continue the
Continue.
hearing. So we either vote for approval, disapproval after the modification, or continue the hearing. Correct? Okay.
Some of the city, at this time, they contracted with Central Liner or COG, which we have a contract with, and they're experts in a lot of city, local government activities, especially zoning and subdivisions. So we work conjointly with them, and they come up with some conditions to put forth before we went any farther with this. And on December the 6th, one of the update conditions were there's a total of 490 homes, 120 single-family attaches, reduced from 674 to 204 single-family attaches. So when it came from 674 to 490, they dropped that many homes in the subdivision. Residential care facility and yard sales were removed as uses. 2-car driveways added for all residential, which is increased from 1 driveway. A 30-foot tree-safe area adjacent to Echo Circle lots. 100 feet tree-safe are adjacent to Gunnell Farm. We added street trees on every single-family detached lot and every 50 feet along common open space in the size of corner lots. Sidewalks were installed along Highway 150 and on one side of all residential streets. Added open space amenity maintenance, which HOA, Homeowners Association. Added options for open space amenities but not quantified. Traffic impact analysis included, which this is a state road, so once they propose to go ahead with the project, they would contact DOT and there'll be a traffic study done at that time. They're the ones that have to initiate the study because the city doesn't have anything to do with that. And there will be a gate installed at Echo Circle to prevent construction traffic from using access. Because they were worried about all the trucks coming in on Delview Road, yeah. January 20th, they added additional 30 feet buffer to residents of Echo Circle. Added permanent gate to Echo Circle with knock box locked to restrict to emergency access only. Added residential architectural requirements and typical roadway cross sections. And basically everything that the city's asked for in COG, they have agreed to it.
Can I add something to that list?
Mhm.
They're agreeing to, instead of a 5-foot setback, to a 6-foot setback
On the side,
on the sides.
side setback.
Yeah.
So what that means is
You're gonna have
12 foot
Foot
apart
apart
instead of 10.
Instead of 10.
Instead of 10.
You're right.
12 foot
Right.
instead of 10.
That's more than I got at my house now.
You agree to that tonight.
Did he?
Okay. So I think you covered all the things we had asked for. I see where they said they were gonna have a residential care facilities and yard sales removed as uses. And they did add the 2-car driveways.
Mayor, I
Okay,
might add, that's cars sitting side by side, that's not stacked. That's, they can sit side by side.
right, okay. So, okay. And we did the adequate buffering for the townhouses that back up to the public streets. Okay. And if they're not addressed here, certainly after whatever we decide on this, they still would come under our city's subdivision policies too, which is automatic if you're annexed. Okay. Okay, does any citizen that would like to speak at this time concerning the public hearing for Strap Acres? We're open. I have Michael, is it Fossey or Foss? Fast?
The O is silent.
Oh, Fess.
Fess, that's correct.
Okay, Michael Fess, okay?
So, again, I want to get up here. I do want to clarify, we also increased the front yard setback from 20 feet to 22 feet. we wanted to make sure there was enough room in the two-car driveways that no bumpers were hanging over sidewalks, and the sidewalks remained unobstructed. Like Councilmember Parker said earlier, that we did verbally agree that tonight to increase side yard setbacks from 5 feet to 6 feet to allow 12 feet between the houses on that, so. And just want to go, continue, process has been a lengthy process, and I really appreciate the involvement of all the council members and staff. I met with Mr. Dalton last week, as well as Mr. Mackey, Fire, Public Works, and Police, just to go over everything once again and clarify any questions they may have. I do want to clarify for all the citizens here tonight that that gate that is going to connect to Acre Circle is going to be a permanent gate. It's not just during construction, it's during permanent. So once the houses are constructed and the neighborhood's complete, that gate will still be there. It will have what's called a Knox box on it, which is only keyed for fire and police and emergency services. No one else will have that key. The HOA will not have that key. No residents will have that key. So it'll only be opened by police, fire, or EMS. So if there's any other questions, feel free to answer them. Yes, Ms. Hewitt?
Michael, can you explain the buffers that are going to be arranged, like in protection between the farms and others? How is that going to look exactly?
Sure.
It's like 100-foot buffer. How do you push that, round it, fix it? What will it look like?
So the buffers, it's all wooded now, so we
Right.
will essentially, we'll save the trees that are currently in that additional 30 feet. So not only do we add the 30 feet against the residents of Acre Circle, we also increase the rear yard setback along those lots that are back up to Acre Circle. So it's not only the 30, but it's an additional, I think it's 10 feet beyond what we normally offer within the center of the neighborhood for Acre Circle. Just again, increase that separation. So we'll have the natural trees that are there now. So if you go through Acre Circle to the stub road where you're currently living, how densely wooded it is now, it is going to be that dense for 30 feet. And then you'll have the additional rear yard setback before any house or structure can be built on that. And then against Mr. Gannell's farm, at the Pecan Ridge Farm, so we increase that to 100-foot natural tree save area. So again, it's going to be in that natural state. And then you have the rear property line and rear yard setbacks for any of the lots or houses that'll be developed back there.
So what's the total setback for the backyards now?
For internal or against Acre Circle. So there's two different rear yard setbacks. I got the plans right here.
I know you increased it by 10 feet, but
So standard through most of the neighborhood, that rear yard setback, from the end of the building envelope, it's 20 feet to the rear yard. So against Acre Circle, it's an additional 10 feet plus a minimum of 30 feet tree safe.
So that'll be true with any other property that's abutting up to this, right?
If it's on the
Backside.
backside.
The
Just
backside
on the
that butts up
backside.
against the residents to Acre
Right.
Circle, correct. The existing houses against, that all live along Acre Circle. And I believe there is one property that does have a driveway on Delview, but we're counting them into the Acre Circle development there.
Right.
Mhm.
How many houses per acre is this gonna be? Because we were down to a quarter, and since you increased the setbacks, now it's gonna make
I think it's
homes per acre
24.
decrease.
It's 2.55 lots per acre, per gross acre.
Just a little over 2.5.
Yes, just a little over 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
And that's based on the total property size and the total amount of 500 lots.
177, and then you detract 55 from when we originally started, that brings you down to 122.
sorry, I'm not following the math.
It's 177 acres, correct, right?
I believe so, yes.
And with your greenways and what you're gonna turn into commercial property on the front, you're gonna say 55, is that right? With the stream banks, and the right of ways, and the go green areas, it's
Say
55.
55 acres?
That's what you said, yeah.
Total common open space provided for the R9 cluster, it's 68 acres minimum, or 44.84%.
So we're at 177 minus 68, correct?
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. That'd be right.
The required common open space under the R9 cluster zoning is 50.5 acres, and we are providing 68 acres. So we're providing 13 more acres than are required for common open space.
So you're down to, you're gonna build on 109 acres, is that right?
Honestly, I haven't done the math. I can get out a calculator and do it. If that's what your calculator says, I'm not gonna dispute it, but, I mean, the plans are the plans.
490 homes on 109 acres.
That is what the lot dimensions are. That's what it is. So the lots are nominal, about 50 feet wide.
But when you're talking about 490, you're talking about the townhomes and the residential.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
So where the townhomes are varying width, but they are smaller lots.
That's why they call it.
Okay, does any citizen want to speak at this time in public hearing? Pete, I think you said you wanted to speak.
You clarify something.
Sure, absolutely. I'd be happy to.
Here on this, section I, number 6, it says developers shall install a gate at the access of Acre Circle to prevent construction traffic from using that access. At certain times during the testing and widening of the earthen embankment for existing of farm pond, Acre Circle access may be used for construction access. The gate shall be removed at either the request of the fire marshal or when the phase of the development connected to Acre Circle is paved, whichever comes first. Any damage caused by the construction of traffic or on Acre Circle shall be repaired by the developer. Okay. According to that, you gonna, huh?
That was a previous, that has since been amended.
That's supposed to be the update on what, y'all supposed to be doing. So in
Yeah.
other words, that gate is not gonna be open at all for any construction vehicle to go in and out of Acre Circle.
So there will be a short period of time because there's an earthen embankment that there's a farm pond at the front of the property with an earthen embankment on
Yeah.
it. That needs to be widened at the very beginning of the development. During that period, we have to provide access for Mr. Millwood as we work, because that earthen embankment's the driveway, the going in and out access to Highway 150.
Okay.
So that's right here. So here's the existing farm pond,
Right.
and there's the existing embankment. So while we work and widen that earthen embankment, we gotta provide Mr. Millwood access, as well if we need to have construction equipment come in on this side. So that's all that means is during that short period, we're working on this earthen embankment. We may have to have, and it's more just for laborers, we're going to bring the equipment in through Highway 150.
Okay.
So that's all, what that means, that short period, a temporary period where we're working on this embankment where that captures the water for that existing storm
Mhm.
pond. We have to widen that to the Cherryville streets ordinance requirements.
To the subdivision.
Okay.
Yeah, and
All right, that's, in other words, after when, as soon as that is finished and repaired, the gate will be back up.
back up,
And
install.
nobody, emergency vehicles and all, no more construction vehicles on that road
Correct,
whatsoever.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
That's
when
what-
we'll have the police or fire come and lock the knockbox, and that'll be it.
Okay.
These impact studies that the city paid for, does that take into accommodation the 74 houses being done on Black Rock School Road and the other houses building next to the apartments building next to Food Line and the houses on Academy Street, the apartments couldn't be built, so we did that, just simply show what would happen with the development of this neighborhood.
This impact statement was done just for Strap Acres. Now,
Well,
if
just
you,
looking at a totality of it, looking at our wastewater treatment plant and what we can withstand right now, we can easily take this in. Now, we got plans to still get, and we have another ditch at the wastewater treatment plant that is not operating right now, but is gonna be operating hopefully very soon.
But did that accommodate the 74 houses on Black Rock?
It will accommodate all of them.
yeah, we're operating
It will
at
accommodate
roughly
all of
a third of the capacity that our sewer and water plant can provide. I think it's actually less than a third. It's like 30% of,
Average
there,
daily
Larry's
rate,
here,
yeah.
he could,
I was gonna say, Larry could tell you better, but correct me if I'm wrong here, average daily rate's around, right at 500,000 gallons a day at the wastewater treatment plant. We can easily withstand that, especially when we get the other ditch up and going, we can go up to 2 million a day.
Well, what about electricity? Did y'all, anybody work with them to see if we could provide this guy's power, or is it gonna still be on duty?
We don't have a
can't
choice
do
there.
that,
That's
We don't have a
REA.
choice.
Take it. REA.
They're under REA.
no.
We don't have a choice.
It's not gonna help the other citizens with power.
They're not gonna relinquish that to us. It's a remote possibility if they wanted to, but they're not gonna give up that power. They're not gonna do that. Any other citizen would like to be heard concerning Strap Acres?
What did that impact study say about our school system?
It's way too early. I've talked with the Board of, Gaston County Board of Education. They want us to keep them abreast of how many houses are built per year. We've said 50, it could be as many as 50 a year for the first 4 years. I don't know if that's gonna be realistic or not, but, they are being updated, and they will continue to be updated. We really don't, the schools are operating under capacity now. So it's gonna be a long time before it would impact the schools. But when you talk about Strap Acres, you talk about Academy Street and on the other side of Black Rock. You get them all together, I think we've got 1199 that could come into being if all of them come to fruition. We have no way of knowing if that's going to happen, but of course, we'll keep them updated on the progress as it goes. Anyone else would like to speak? If not, I want to read these statements of consistency and reasonability. There's several things can happen. The first one is if it's considered a motion to approve is the proposed rezoning is consistent with the City of Cherryville Comprehensive Plan, which recommends residential growth in this area. In light of the new transportation corridors and expected growth, the board considers an affirmative vote to be reasonable and in the public interest. Second statement of consistency is to deny reasonability. The proposed rezoning is inconsistent with the City of Cherryville's comprehensive plan, which calls for lower density residential, and the proposed project is a much higher density than envisioned in this area. Therefore, the board considers an affirmative vote to not be reasonable and not in the public interest. And third possibility is that all of this can be continued one more time, but it could only be, public hearing could only be considered one more time. Now, we've got to go out of public hearing at this time since all residents or all citizens have had a chance to speak. So before we go any further, do I have a motion to go out?
Go out of public hearing.
Have a motion to second to go out of public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and now we have our statements of consistency and reasonability. All council members have this in front of them, so you can entertain a motion at this time of what council would like to do regarding
Okay, which, we have that one here, do
page 28.
we? Okay, I was looking.
It's right there, those two.
Just those two out.
Mm-hmm. And the other is not on there as far as continuation. Not much to consider on continuation. You have to make a decision.
I got one more question. How are you gonna compensate those folks that live on Highway 150 for their land that you're gonna take, put in sidewalks and put water line and sewer line down through there? Will they be compensated for giving up their land?
That would be DOT, would it not?
I think they're gonna own the land.
No, I'm talking about from food line on to their entrance. Those folks that y'all are gonna put, where you're gonna put sidewalks, those folks are gonna lose their land.
I might not be following you correctly, but help me out here.
When the roads are, the entrance and exit are being, that's what it's on.
But
Yeah, when you turn it.
but the sidewalk is gonna be in front of the land that they own.
And developed.
So it'll be part of their
It won't be
land.
on the other.
Roads might be wide, they said that earlier.
We said the transportation impact analysis shows we need to put turn lanes at the entrance.
What's it show?
We feel that we can accommodate that within the existing NCDOT right of way.
Should be, because there's no houses
Yeah.
there.
Plenty of room.
Okay, good question.
I make a motion to approve the rezoning of the Strap Acres from R40 to CU R9.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve the special use permit of the rezoning of the property for the Strap Acres property. It's open for any other discussion by council members.
I'd like to make a statement.
Yes.
Personally, I'd like to be against it because I feel like, I don't want to deal with the congestion and the traffic and the crowd coming into Cherryville, but as a councilman, I see it as progress and growth and more revenue for the city from the new taxpayers and water and sewer fees coming in, and for a change, growth on the western side of Gaston County. So I'm not gonna be selfish and just be looking out for my personal interest. I think it's a good thing for Cherryville in the long run and for Gaston County in the long run.
Okay.
Mayor,
I'll make one.
Councilmember Abernathy, before we go any further, would you amend your motion by reading the complete statement?
Yes.
Which is 28,
Page 28.
the top one.
So I make a motion to approve based on the proposed rezoning is consistent with the City of Cherryville Comprehensive Plan, which recommends residential growth in this area. In light of the new transportation corridors and expected growth, the board considers an affirmative vote to be reasonable and in the public interest.
And then could we get a second to that, whoever made the second?
I'd say the second to that.
Would you say second to that motion again?
I made a second to the motion.
Okay.
I'd like to say something too, is
Mm-hmm.
when I came into this meeting tonight, I was totally against it. After seeing all the changes that's been made over the past few weeks and stuff, the only concern that some citizens that I talked to that this affects was the 10-foot between the houses. And after speaking to the developer, they did change that tonight to accommodate the change on that. So I'll say that I'm totally for this project.
And I'd like to say also, the mayor and myself, we took a road trip and we looked at the property other places. I mean, got out, walked it and looked at it.
By the same developers, the very same
By the
developers.
same developers,
True homes.
what they've done. And it's different. Ours is gonna be much wider, open. You folks have met everything we requested, And with the turning lanes that they're proposing in DOT widening there, it will be getting traffic off the road in and out of there a whole lot quicker. So we thank you for making the concessions to make this as nice as it can be. And like Gary stated, I'm glad to see some things coming to the west side, which can bring other things, hopefully, also to help. So we're glad to be partners with you.
Anyone else?
You know, we had a concern about schools. I think if we get enough people to get a new school or get improvements on our schools, that'd be a good thing. You know?
Okay, with no other discussion, do I entertain a motion from council? We have that, and we have the second, so we would vote at this time, and all in favor of the affirmative vote for the statement of consistency and reasonability, answer by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed to this motion to deny, say aye. And it is unanimous. Okay. All right, we'll move on to our
Mayor,
next.
before you go to the next item, there's an ordinance to annex.
Yes.
Mhm.
The same item.
Page right here.
Right, the next page, which is an ordinance to annex certain contiguous areas to the city of Cherryville, and that is the Strap Acres. And it would be whereas the city council has been petitioned under North Carolina General Statute 160A-58.1 as amended to annex the area described herein. And whereas the city council has by resolution directed the city clerk to investigate the sufficiency of said petition, and whereas the city clerk has certified the sufficiency of said petition, and a public hearing on the question of this annexation was held at the Cherryville Community Building at 6 p.m. in the W.J. Allred Chambers on the 8th day of November 2021. After due notice by publication in the Cherryville Eagle on Wednesday, November the 3rd, 2021, and whereas the City Council does hereby find as a fact that said petition meets the requirements of North Carolina General Statute 160A-58.1 as amended, namely, the area described herein meets all of the standards set out in North Carolina General Statute 160-58.1. 2, the petition bears the signatures of all the owners of real property within the area proposed for annexation, and the petition is otherwise valid. And 4, the public health, safety, and welfare of the inhabitants of the city and the area proposed for annexation will be served by this annexation. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Cherryville, North Carolina, Section 1, by virtue of the authority granted by North Carolina General Statute 168-58.1, as amended, the following described territory is hereby annexed and made part of the city of Cherryville on this 8th day of November 2021. Should that be amended to January 10th, 2022? And Section 2 is upon effective date, the above description territory and its citizens and property shall be subject to all debts, laws, ordinances, and regulations in force in the city of Cherryville, and shall be entitled to the same privileges and benefits as other parts of the city of Cherryville. Said territory shall be subject to municipal taxes according to North Carolina General Statute 160-A-31 (E). Section 3, the mayor of the city of Cherryville shall cause to be recorded in the office of the Register of Deeds of Gaston County and in the office of the Secretary of State in Raleigh, North Carolina, an accurate map of the annexed territory described in Section 1 hereof, together with a duly certified copy of this ordinance. Such map shall also be delivered to the Gaston County Board of Elections as required by North Carolina General Statute 163-288.1. That is adopted this 10th day of January 2022. H.L. Bean, Mayor, Paige Green, Certified Municipal Clerk, and Palmer Hufstetler Jr., City Attorney. So,
I got one question on that.
mhm.
Does that include Mr. Millwood's property also?
We are not annexing his property. It is not part of this
I
territory.
didn't know, since he was right in the middle, I didn't know if all that,
No,
He has to ask for it.
Yes.
yeah, we can't annex without
Yep.
volunteer. Okay. We need a motion, entertain a motion to accept annexation as presented.
Need to specify an effective date.
Effective date of January the 10th.
I think normally for taxation purposes, we've had the annexation date effective for like January 1st or July 1st. I don't know if anyone wants to weigh in on that.
that's the way it should be.
Mm-hmm. Either our fiscal year or our budget year, which is July the 1st.
Let's
Or
go ahead and make it.
Dixie, do you?
we're only talking about 10 days if we make it for January.
Annexation. You want to weigh in on the effective date of the annexation, like, tax-wise, like January
I don't
1st, July
think-
1st?
We can't make it retroactive, can we?
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think we talked about July 1st.
Okay. For taxes and
tax.
laws, regulations. Okay, so, in the annexation as presented, that would include, annexation taking effective as of July 1st, 2022. Okay, and that would be within the motion.
You need a motion?
Okay, yes, I need a motion and a second.
I make a motion that we accept the annexation to begin on July 1st, 2022, for the purpose of taxation and for that date.
For annexation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the annexation, please say by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed to this motion, please say aye. It's unanimous. Okay. All right, we'll go to item 16 is consideration of proclamation for School Choice Week. And at this time, I would like to recognize council member, yes, let them leave if they want to. At this time, Councilman Freeman is going to read this proclamation for School Choice Week. And that's on page 31.
Whereas all children in Cherryville should have access to the highest quality education possible, and whereas City of Cherryville recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing all students in Cherryville to be successful adults, and whereas quality education is critically important to the economic vitality of the City of Cherryville, and whereas the City of Cherryville is home to a multitude of high-quality public and non-public schools from which parents can choose for their children, in addition to families who educate their children in the home, and whereas educational variety not only helps to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrancy of our community, and whereas the City of Cherryville has many high-quality teaching professionals in all types of school settings who are committed to educating our children, and whereas School Choice Week is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise awareness of the need for effective educational options. Now therefore, I, Gary Freeman, representing Henry L. Beam, Mayor of Cherryville, do hereby recognize January 23rd through January 29th, 2022, as the Cherryville, City of Cherryville School Choice Week, and I call this observance to the attention of our citizens. Adopted this 10th day of January 2022, signed Paige H. Green, City Clerk, and H. L. Beam, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Freeman.
Good job.
I'm glad you caught that at the end, too. Okay, we'll move on, and next item is consideration of a resolution to begin an upset bid process on city-owned lot located on West Main Street, which is the corner of West Main Street and South Mulberry Street. That's the lot that was donated by the Holmesleys, and it's right across from the old post office. So that's, again, pages 32 through 49 in your agenda packets, if I can get there.
Mayor, Council, if I may, what this is we have an offer to purchase from Cherryville Main Street LLC. They've submitted to the City of Cherryville. The PIN of the property is 129790. They've offered to purchase the property for $30,000 and put $1,500 in earnest money, should it be accepted. I have talked to Ms. Sperling from Sperling Realty. There is a sewer lateral that does run across the property. If you remember, we have two townhomes that are on Main Street, and then we have two townhomes that sit on Mulberry Street. Both of those all four of those townhomes, their sewer laterals run across this lot. The two on Main Street, we do not believe we're gonna have a problem, because with all the construction on Main Street with the new water lines and the new sewer lines, there are already taps there for those two townhomes to tap onto. The problem is the two that are on Mulberry Street with the lateral running across there. I spoke to Brandon about it today. To correct their problem, we're gonna have to run an extension from Main towards them on Mulberry Street. Right now there is no issues, but should we decide to sell this property, if you look at the offer to purchase there, the goal is to make it into a parking lot. So if there would be a problem, obviously they would have the right to dig up that parking lot to fix their sewer line. So I think it's something down the road we might want to look at, should we sell it, to maybe get that extension done so we can have them their own individual taps to make sure we don't have any problems in the future.
The only thing I see with that is, I think they're pretty much ready to move on it if there's no upset bids. And I don't know how we could possibly get a sewer line to those other two.
Well, they're still ready to purchase the property. I've disclosed this to Ms. Sperling. She knows this. They're still wanting to purchase the property. I just think it's something in the future that the city needs to look at.
Okay, the only other thing I'm weighing in, I'm not against it one bit, because I helped try to sell this to the Holmesley family. The only issue I see is, if we have to run that line from Main Street up Mulberry to those apartments, we're looking at a substantial amount of money, and are we gonna make enough off of that lot to pay for that, or?
We would make enough off of it, I believe, to pay for it. I spoke to Brandon earlier today, and he estimated it could be as much as $20,000 possible. But I think, what I'm looking at is, first of all, that was our intentions with that lot when the Holmesley's family donated it to the City of Cherryville. We don't incur the expense of making that parking, which is what we know we're gonna need, is more downtown parking. So I think with Mr. O'Leary agreeing to purchase the lot and pave it himself, I think it's a win-win for the city possibly.
I want to add that he's not making that stipulation to purchase the property. Brian made me aware of that today. And it would be nice if we didn't have a sewer line through it, but he didn't say that he's still going to go forward with the offer without forcing you to do that. I think what Brian is saying is sometime in the future, and maybe before they have
Yeah.
problems, so that we don't have to dig up the parking lot, that he is not making that a stipulation of the purpose.
Right,
He's not
okay.
saying you have to do it, it's just something we
Yeah.
might want to look at.
Right now, the pavement would go over the existing sewer line.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Now, like I said, the two townhomes on Main Street, Brandon's already got that problem solved. Those taps are there with the new water and sewer lines. So all they have to do is get a plumber to tie them on, and they're done. They don't even need that line.
Mm-hmm.
What about the existing oak tree on the lot? Is it gonna remain or not?
That's something they would have to answer, but I don't know about that.
Honestly, didn't pay attention.
There's a big old
Yeah,
tree.
there's an oak tree on the corner.
I know when I talked to the Holmesley family, they had assured us that they had not put any stipulations on the lot about the tree or the sewer lines or anything else. So they basically said the city can do what they want to with it.
Well,
And,
my thoughts, which I haven't mentioned the package or anything, but my thoughts are, and this is just a thought now, trees do tear up parking lots.
Absolutely.
Especially come out. What happened to the scrap park. I mean, those bricks were just torn out of pieces with those trees, so you hate to sink a lot of money in the pavement and then tear it up, the tree, and it will do that. So I'm
we had a
not
grave marker there that got
But like I said, I'm not
damaged.
saying that he's gonna remove it, I'm just saying that I have seen it tear apart.
And I don't care one way or the other. I thought it's a good thing to get it settled before, because some citizens might get upset about the tree being removed.
You might be right on that, Councilman Freeman. I
I
think.
know we had a problem with the
I
pine
think
tree
the
at the little
state
theater.
just made a law about removing trees within the city. Is that not right, Paige? Do you remember that?
You heard that?
Yeah. It's when we were talking about the trees at the Simpson house. And state says you can't just go, is Brandon here? Brandon might know about that. Do you know about what the state ruling is on removing trees in the city? You don't, you haven't?
Are you talking about?
That's
the
something we can research.
We're not
I think
talking
you're
about
talking
private
about
property now.
property.
Yeah, that's private property.
Yeah.
If he buys it, he can cut the tree down if he wants to. It'd be his
Like I said,
property.
I have to discuss that with him. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's gonna remove the trees. I really don't have an answer to
Mhm,
that. Because
okay.
I didn't discuss it with him, because I didn't think about
Right.
it. So I don't have. an
But I don't
answer.
think we're against
there's
it being
there's
cut
nothing
down.
in
He
the
just wanted you to.
Current agreement with the Holmesley family about the tree remaining or anything
No,
like that?
sir. And Dr. Holmesley's having some health issues, so the mayor and I did speak to his brother, T.C. Holmesley, on the phone the other day. He was reaching out to his sister, Miss Shirley Smith. You probably remember her when she taught at the high school. He got in touch with her this weekend, and she's fine. The Holmesley family said anything that makes the city better, they're all for. And he called me back today and expressed that Miss Smith was fine with it as well.
And of course, we'll have to go through the upset bid. And the upset bid has to be 10% above.
Well, it's like 10% of the
first-
first 1,000 and then 5% of the remainder. So,
See, I was thinking earnest money had to be 10% of what
well,
the
they have to
offer
put up
was.
5% of the.
5%,
They have to
okay.
put that up
So
in
that's
earnest
right,
money.
1,500 then
That's
would
why
be.
I brought that amount, because it's usually 5%.
Yeah, okay.
It's my understanding, which he has agreed to the parking lot, but it's my understanding that since the Holmesley family wanted the city to have a parking lot there, that your upset bid is gonna state that anybody else who puts a bid in
Has to put a
in
parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in the resolution.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's within the
Yeah,
resolution.
that's good.
And you know, as far as that old tree, if I was buying the property, I would cut it down, especially with the trees that are gonna be part of the streetscape. That one's gonna stick out like a sore thumb.
I know we just
It's
didn't
not gonna be
discuss it.
pretty.
We haven't been answered, so.
Right.
Okay.
Patrick might want to plant a different tree.
Okay.
And I make a motion to begin the upset bid process of the property owned on West Main Street, corner of West Main and South Mulberry.
Okay, I'll Second.
Okay, we have a motion, 2 seconds to adopt the resolution as presented on the property mentioned. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, there is none. Okay, that moves us on to item 18, other business. At this time, do I have any other business to come before council from any of the council members?
I have one thing. I know, Brian, you put, or Mr. Dalton, you put in your report about Jerry Sanders and his problem on Ballard Street. Is there anything we can do to help him?
Brandon and I talked about that. We're looking at some possible solutions, but I think his probably best solution is gonna be to fill in some more dirt. Brandon has already taken a lot of rock out there where the water comes down and was going in onto his property. But the problem is when it rains so hard, it's getting over the rocks and it's washing away down towards a drain that the church has put in where they're doing construction behind it. So probably the cheapest and best solution for him is gonna be to try to get some dirt in there and possibly put some sod down to keep it from washing away, because what's happened is that used to be all woods back there, so when the church wanted to build I think they're building like a youth center back there, they cut all that down back behind him, so there's no brush, there's no woods, anything like that, so he's getting the brunt of that water.
Nothing to
coming
slow that
through.
water down now.
Yeah, and so we're trying to get it slowed down. And Brandon has, like I said, he's stopped it when it doesn't rain real hard. It's just when it rains real hard like it did, a couple Sunday nights ago, it still runs.
We've done what we can, now he needs to make
More
a
than
berm or
likely.
something there.
More than likely.
Okay.
But yeah, I went out there Friday and met with him, and like I said, Brandon and I have talked about it, but that's probably gonna be his best solution.
I'm glad you talked with him. He just felt like it hadn't been addressed by the city. So.
Yeah, I think that's probably gonna be his best solution to try first, is to do that.
Okay, under other business, I have one item that needs to come before council, and that is my committee appointments. And I had changed our electricities. Before, it was myself and Brandon Abernathy was the alternate. And I felt like with our new city manager that he should be on there. And I found out that the way we can do this, we can have 2 alternates. So we will leave the committee appointments as we had them before for electricities with me as the elected official on there, and Brian will be an alternate, and I want to add Brandon Abernathy as an alternate too, because he needs his knowledge in dealing with electricities also. And I think they've got a meeting coming up before too long.
There's,
February.
I think it's next week, there's a meeting actually in Concord, I think on the 18th. And
Okay.
obviously, we'll go to that one because it's right here in town.
Okay, so do I have a motion to accept the new alternate that's added to electricities?
I'll make a motion to accept Brandon Abernathy as a new alternate.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to accept Brandon Abernathy as the second alternate to electricities. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, there is none. That's the only thing I have bookwork. Any other business to come before city council tonight from city council members or staff?
Nothing from staff.
Nothing from staff. Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion for adjournment and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, there is none. We are adjourned.